So today we're going to be taking a look at the Asus Mini PC PN50. The PN50 is a bare bones mini PC similar to that of, let's say, an Intel NUC mini PC. What do I mean by bare bones? Well, a bare bones PC means that it doesn't have memory, storage, or an operating system. You have to supply all of that on your own. You can buy these with all those components inside, usually from a PC builder like this Aspen from Simply NUC, but they do come with a price premium for them building it for you. So let's look at the specs of this little guy. And it is small, measuring 11.5 by 11.5 by 4.9 centimeters, or about 4.5 by 4.5 by 1.9 inches. And the case is made of plastic with a brushed steel appearance. It also weighs about 1.2 pounds, or about half a kilogram, with 2 sticks of RAM and an M.2 drive installed. It has 2 RAM slots that support up to 64 gigabytes of DDR4 3200 MHz memory, an M.2 drive that supports SATA and NVMe, and that supports drives up to 2 terabytes, and a 2.5-inch drive that can support either a SATA SSD or hard drive, and I believe the support is up to 8 terabytes. You can get 3 different processors with the PN50, all of them from the AMD 4000 laptop series. So the first one and the cheapest being the 4300U, and then you have the 4500U, and then you have the 4700U, which is an 8-core 16-thread processor with a 15-watt TDP, which is pretty insane. I bought the variant with the 4300U, which is a 4-core, 4-threaded CPU that has a 2.7 GHz base clock and a 3.7 GHz max boost clock. It's based on TSMC's 7nm process and has a base TDP of 15 watts, but has a TDP range of 10 to 25 watts. The 4300U also comes with Vega 5 integrated graphics. I installed 8 gigabytes of DDR4 2400 RAM in dual channel and a 256 gigabyte M.2 SATA SSD. I also put in a 500 gigabyte 2.5-inch SSD temporarily for game installs. It comes with Wi-Fi 6, better known as AX, and Bluetooth 5.0. As for ports, the front of the PN50 comes with a USB 3.2 Gen 2 Type-C port with quick charge and DisplayPort output, a USB 3.1 Gen 1 Type-A port, a 3-in-1 card reader, an infrared sensor for remotes, an audio combo port, and dual microphones meant for Microsoft's Cortana personal assistant. In the back, we have a USB 3.2 Gen 2 Type-C port with DisplayPort output, 2 USB 3.1 Gen 1 Type-A ports, an HDMI port, DisplayPort, Gigabit Ethernet port, and a port for plugging in the included 65-watt proprietary power adapter. One thing to note is that the PN50 can support up to 4 4K displays at 60 Hz simultaneously, or a single 8K display at 60 Hz via DisplayPort in dual mode. So now that we've taken a look at the specs, let's go ahead and take a look at some benchmarks. Now, the PN50 is not a gaming machine, but it can play some games on low settings at 1080p. CSGO, with the lowest settings, got an average of 79.8 frames per second and a 1% low of 26.2 frames per second. Performance was decent, but there was a lot of stuttering. GTA 5 on the lowest settings got an average of 37.7 frames per second and a 1% low of 19.1 frames per second. Out in the country areas, it would get up to the low 40s, but in the city it would dip down into the 30s and high 20s. Not bad for integrated graphics. Fortnite with the low preset and DirectX 11 got an average of 40.6 frames per second and a 1% low of 6.7 frames per second. There was a lot of stuttering in this title, which for online shooters can be very frustrating. The game defaulted me to the performance mode, which at the time of recording is still in beta. This may help with performance as well as dropping the render scale. Overwatch on the low preset got an average of 70.3 frames per second and a 1% low of 21.3 frames per second. Overwatch did a little better than I was hoping. There was occasional stutters, but nothing like Fortnite. League of Legends on the medium preset got an average of 92.3 frames per second and a 1% low of 55.8 frames per second. This game can run on a potato, so I wasn't surprised at the performance. The Cinebench R20 single-core average score was 421, and the average multi-core score was 1,506. Not bad for such a tiny computer. The classroom benchmark in Blender completed in 31 minutes and 7 seconds, which isn't bad for having such a low-powered CPU. There is a single exhaust fan kind of up at the top, and it pulls in air through the bottom of the case and then out the back. It sounds very much like a laptop cooling fan, and we'll go ahead and take a look at what it sounds like when it's under load. I noticed that MSI Afterburner was not displaying the CPU temperature while I was playing some of these games. I messed around with some settings, it just wasn't an option. So I tried to use Ryzen Master, but it doesn't work with this processor, so then I ran Cinebench while using hardware info to monitor temperatures. It was capping at about 95 degrees Celsius. As far as total system power consumption, at idle I was seeing about 7 to 8 watts being used, and during a Cinebench multi-core run it peaked around 38 to 39 watts, so not bad, pretty low powered. One thing I'd like to mention is in the BIOS for this device, you can switch between 3 different fan profiles. For these tests, I just kept it on normal, which was the default for this machine when I got it. But if you want to try bumping it up to performance, it is going to be louder, but you might be able to get more performance out of it. Hardware installation and maintenance is pretty easy and convenient. You unscrew 4 screws on the bottom and then slide the bottom off to gain access to RAM, storage, and the Wi-Fi Bluetooth module, which is located under the M.2 slot. Asus also includes VESA, however you pronounce it, VESA mounting equipment, so that you can mount the PN50 on the back of like a monitor or a TV, which can make this little guy pretty versatile. In fact, Asus really emphasizes how versatile it is on their webpage, saying it's perfect for anything from digital signage to home theaters. They even promote 24/7 reliability and advertise the endurance testing they perform on their mini PCs, stating that they can operate without issue in more extreme environments. But I do see a lot of potential uses for this little guy. One of them in particular, my interest would be a tiny little Plex server. You know, I know it doesn't have a ton of storage in there, or storage options, I should say. You know, just up to 2 terabyte M.2, which can be expensive, or 8 terabytes, which I looked up and I was having a really hard time finding an 8 terabyte SATA SSD or mechanical hard drive. So if you don't have a ton of content, this would be good, or you could use external hard drives to store all of your data. It would be a great little daily driver or a content creation PC, as now Adobe Premiere Pro supports the Ryzen 4000 series APUs for hardware encoding. One thing I noticed but didn't test or record or anything like that, but the microphones on the PN50 do pick up the exhaust fan when at like medium to high loads, so just keep that in mind. I also had issues with Windows 10 crashing sometimes when I would open the Netflix app from the Windows Store, but a driver update fixed that. Now, I bought the barebones system with the 4300U from Simply Nook via Amazon for $390. I just took a look and found it cheaper at Micro Center for $330 online and in-store, and Newegg for $420. So shop around for the best price. As I mentioned in the beginning of this video, I've replaced my Plex server slash HTPC with this little guy, and it's been running really well. It's a lot more aesthetic than my big tower, and it's very small, so it's not, you know, just an eyesore. I leave it on 24/7 as my girlfriend likes to just hop on the couch, turn on the TV, and start streaming. I could have gotten a Roku device, which would have been easier for her. But I wanted something that I could run Windows on, as well as be able to do more with it than just stream media. I've been really curious about Ryzen 4000 series CPUs and wanted to test one out, and I've recently become very fascinated with small and powerful computers. Also, and her and I were just talking about this Tuesday, today is when, so yesterday. We talked about this yesterday. She does a Zoom meeting with her mom and a few other people, and she usually does it on her laptop, but she has lost the power cable to her laptop. So what I'm actually going to be doing is taking an old webcam of mine. It's a nice one. It's a Logitech C920, which I used to use for streaming, but I'm going to put that on the TV. It's a nice long cord, goes down to the PN50. That way she can do video conferencing from the couch, which is pretty cool. So there's just so many little uses you can have for such a small, compact computer. I really liked the look of this mini PC. A lot of the mini PCs that I was researching on getting were not only a lot lower powered, they had, you know, Intel Celeron or Pentium processors, which are a lot slower, but they also look very plasticky and dull, whereas this, it feels nice. Even though it is plastic, it has that brushed feel to it. So anyways, what did you guys think of the Asus PN50? Tell me down in the comments. And with that, I will leave you. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.